Hello and welcome to Wicklow Good News with me, Jillian Godsil. Today I have a partnership, romantic and business, in the form of Huw O'Toole and Caroline Costigan, and they are launching Hub13. So welcome to the show, Huw and Caroline.
Thank you.
So first of all, Hub13, tell me a bit about the background and then a bit about the space. So what is Hub13?
The premise is a co-working remote hub, and we developed the idea about 2 years ago and opened the business last year. And it's a flexible facility, I suppose, for people who have either a small business or are working remotely or need to use a facility who don't want to go into Dublin. But primarily we started initially looking at people who live in the vicinity and the uplands and around the area who are either working from home or going in and out to Dublin on the M50 and don't necessarily need to, or a small business who want to just work in an area where there's other people working. And we all know what it's like working at home when you're starting a business. It can get very isolated and lonely. So the idea was to start in the old offices of what Hub13 was before, a remote working area. So it's share space, share desks, we have a social area, we have kind of common areas where people can sit down and congregate, and we kind of developed then a little social event every month just to break the ice and get people more and more together, and reached out to local producers to bring in.
That's a very good idea, because if you are a lone entrepreneur, the thought of going to a co-working space might still be daunting. But if there's a social event so you can get to know who your potential neighbours might be, that's very, very clever.
Yeah, there was two challenges with that because people weren't very familiar with this concept. And so we needed to kind of promote what it was and make it seem comfortable, and there's nothing like breaking bread to make people relax and eating out in the easy chat, and people loved it. People came, and we did a few little events as well and talks, and we got a few business people to do talks, and we did things with Grow Remote, their remote working chapter down in Ashford, and they helped us along, and a few food evenings, and we had a gig, and we even had a wedding here actually as well, which is kind of fun.
Whoa.
So,
it was very beautiful. I mean, the video, the Hub13, the gallery, sorry, it's a beautiful little building. What was it originally?
It originally was a sawmill and joinery shop, and there's been a kind of sawmill here since the 30s, and this particular one was built in the 60s and 70s by my father and mom, and we all worked on it as kids, and then it went away, those businesses do, and took a hard hit in the 90s, and kind of struggled along for a while, and then kind of ground to a halt. So after Dad died, myself and Caroline moved up here, and with Anna, yeah, my gosh, our main ingredient, and set about trying to visualize how this might change over the coming years, and how would you take something that was we had a building business back then as well, so the offices upstairs were for the building business, and we had machinery downstairs, and it took about 2 years for the idea to start to coalesce, and then talking with various people locally as well. I had seen this idea about 15 years ago in London, and had actually pitched it to a client down in Cork about 10 years ago, and no, the answer was no. So the idea had never left me, and I kept it, and I kind of remember talking to Caroline about it, and she said, that sounds kind of interesting, because we were meeting a lot of people who were self-employed, who were running small businesses, and and also with the nature of North Wicklow, it's expanding. There's a huge influx of people from all over the world, let alone Ireland, and the common thing that's missing is the gel that a community gives itself. So when you're arriving into a new area, it's either sports clubs, schools, wherever you go to, that's where your community connection happens. And we said we'd start using the hub use that model for business connections of people working alone or working in the likes of maybe Roundwood or Lara or maybe Uplands or down in Greystones or down near Ashford, and bring them in here and get them to know each other and make business connections.
Yeah, it's a brilliant idea. I mean, I guess the WeWork business is well established globally, and so the whole idea, I think, it has come up leaps and bounds, but it's definitely needful, because I am also a person who works from home a lot of the time, and I do miss those sort of water cooler conversations. And I know I get more work done at home sometimes, but if you need to bounce ideas or just to talk to somebody, I know that sometimes when my daughter comes in and I talk at a rate of knots because I haven't really seen anybody all day, and she goes, "Stop, Mum, stop." And I'm like, Okay. I miss human interaction. So, Caroline, you were poached, as you said. You were headhunted to come and join the Hub.
Yes.
So what's your role in the Hub?
Well, my background, I'm a nurse basically. So when we came up to Wicklow, I continued working within nursing, and Huw had been on, I suppose, for most of the time really to see would I come and help him on kind of more day-to-day basis in the Hub. And I was slow to do it because I think nursing and working in an office, they're very different. Nursing very hands-on, very people-centered, and I'd never actually worked in an office. And even in nursing, if you're found in the office on a shift, you're sent out to the office. It's like, what are you doing in here? Go out and do something useful, kind of. So yeah, so big change. It took me a while. So January. So in January of this year, I left my position and came on full time with you, and was settling in nicely, I think.
Very nicely, actually.
Very nicely, and getting used to it. And I think brought an element coming in from outside a setting. I kind of knew what I'd like in an office, so
fresh eyes, perhaps.
Fresh eyes, yeah. What's important in work? What's important. Your environment's very important, so that simple kind of things that it's a woman's touch without sort of sounding sexist, but that things are clean, that people have what they need to hand rather than going looking for it. That things like flowers and small little touches, but I think they're important in your environment. So if you're at work and you're spending 6, 8, 10 hours, you need to be somewhere that's pleasant, so that that the windows are clean, that you can look out of them, that you can see what's around you. Yeah, little things. And then COVID happened. So
so how is COVID working for you? Was it a spanner in the works, or is it an opportunity?
Well, initially a spanner in the works, and a big spanner in the works, because we had to close the building to adhere to the lockdown precautions. But I suppose you get through any kind of situation that's thrown at you, and you try and make the best of it. And I think in regards to this, we certainly made the best, in the sense it kind of moves things on in the Hub a little bit, because I think you could probably go into more about phases. So Huw has a very strong idea in what he wants to encompass. So while COVID was going on, we were, very locked down and very isolated, because we lived with Huw's mom, who's in her 80s. So we had to be very, very careful. And we spent most of the time outside. Thankfully, the weather was good.
The weather was fantastic.
Yeah, weather was fantastic. And we basically turned one of the backfields into an allotment. So there's a
wow.
Yeah.
No, we got very busy, and it was actually interesting, the unfolding of COVID, because we were just getting going, and we'd loyal users who liked what we were doing, loved coming here, and we had a couple of group conversations where I called a meeting to kind of, as we were learning what was happening, we'd update, and we kind of closed in about 3 phases. We didn't realize we were going to close, of course, at the first phase. And but the last meeting we had with everyone was saying, we're going to have to close, it looks like, and we're closing from the start of Monday. I think this was a Thursday, and it was kind of very sad as well, because Enrique, one of the guys he's a translator working at Lara, he was in, and he came down here to work. He was delighted, and he was doing a great book, and he'd learned that his translation contract was cancelled. It was his business, you could see business just dropping off an edge as you were starting to close, and their 3 users were very badly affected. Their income just disappeared.
Well, the freelancers, yes, always get kicked when there's
that was tough watching that, and we kind of helped out and said, look, we're closing. A couple of the placement agents came calling on us to see would we take workers from elsewhere in here, and we kind of refused, because I said, well, we've got to safeguard our existing users. So we closed it to new membership for probably about 2 weeks, and then I then had to look at closing the business fully, and we protected users we had, and it was very sad, actually. A lot of businesses, you could see them really starting to struggle, and 2 of them dropped off, and I'm not sure if they've come back yet. We've been in contact with them, and they've been affected by family bereavement as well within the COVID-19 scenario. But it's funny, these things give you're forced to close, and it's been funny because you're going full belt to working hard in place. And Caroline was great because Caroline does say she was working as a nurse all the time, keeping us fed basically. And because I was full time trying to build this and get it going, I was running my business, but and 80% of my time was in actually physically constructing this and starting to make it happen and get the marketing going and all that. And the COVID-19 just made it stop, have a look, what are you doing, and think,
did it change any of your vision for the centre?
It did. It brought a lot of the stuff that was in the background to the foreground, and particularly like we had a look at. We've always been into food, myself and Caroline, and how it's made, and we're lucky enough to have a small bit of land as part of the old farm, and whereas it's too small to farm, it's an amazing asset to have. And we started looking at how we could make that an integral part of the hub. And initially, I was thinking of maybe a development kind of parkland, or a place where you can, if you're working here, you want to rest your eyes, you can step outside into a field for 20 minutes, make it attractive like that. So we planted 2 meadows for this effect. We're getting kind of wild hay this year, and we've got a couple of donkeys, and we kind of feed them, and we'll probably sell it on the hay. And then we had a plan for an allotment that came out. A friend of ours had allotment gardens in Newtowmmountkennedy, and they ended up having to close that, but they really recommended us that it's a really great thing to do. So they were good enough to kind of tell us how to do it. And then about a month into the being closed down, I just one morning said, right, we're going to do this, and we just got on and did it. And we opened about 6 weeks ago, and we've got 8 users now, and we're having our first social event this weekend.
So you have 8 people who are growing things in the allotment by the hub.
Allotment, and one of them is working here as well. So the whole thing we're trying to move to is like, well, if you're working in Hub13, you can also get an allotment, and you can go there at lunch. If you need a break, go up and
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that is absolutely stonking great. It is, because if you think about it, and I'm not a gardener per se, but if you're working in an office and you have, your gardens there, your allotments there, you can grow your vegetables, your flowers, whatever. So it gives you the, brain time, and then come back into the office. That is such, and then you have also the camaraderie, because it's not just one person, there's 8 people looking after their allotments. That is brilliant. I love that. Well, what other things has COVID done, has changed?
I think a lot of people have kind of changed perspective as well about life, and the realization that we can't keep going in and out to Dublin and be dependent on urban areas to supply our work. And the advent of fibre optic coming into our hub, I mean, that's what makes the business. The business is dead without fibre optic cable and fast internet. So COVID brought that front and centre, saying you have to be connected to be able to work. And all of a sudden, the general population is now working from home. Well, let's say 50 or 60% of it is, and is slowly going back to work. And you don't have to be working in Dublin all the time. You don't have to be working in Limerick, Galway, Cork city centres. You can work remotely. So we, one of the things that came out of it, there was just coincidentally, the EU launched a Smart Village initiative to a program, a 2.5-year program under when I was saying about 2050 or earlier. I did the application for that for Roundwood, Newtowmmountkennedy, Newcastle, Wicklow, as a interconnected village structure, 4 villages that would each maybe end up with a hub like ours, where workers in the local area would go to a place like this, privately run or publicly, the same facilities we have, not large scale like we work, but aimed at rural people, and with working in Dublin or looking to integrate.
I think it's such a good idea. It's like, with the National Broadband Plan, it's lovely in theory, it's very expensive, and it's impossible sometimes to get broadband to the end of little lanes, in the arsehole of nowhere. But if there were hubs everywhere, so by the way, I'm not trying to be, you can't have broadband, but sometimes it's just not physically possible. But if every village had a hub like you have, that you genuinely democratize access to the internet for the people in the community. And it's not the whole trying to get down to the end of the lane to the individual house is not as quite as important. And also, I love the fact too as well, I mean, as a home worker, a person with an office at home, I do miss the interaction. I do miss talking to people, and I miss bouncing ideas, or just maybe someone else could help me on something. So I really, really like that idea. And I was on your website, you're very flexible in your terms. It's not like you got to sign up for a year. You can just book for one day.
Yeah, but we kind of have to review that now because of the COVID. So we were able to book for one day, but we've been advised by the department basically to have some control over who's coming in and out. So we're asking people to, you still come, but the booking has to be for a minimum of a week now, preferably a month, just so that we don't have a fast turnover over people and we don't know.
That's COVID. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
All health and safety procedure we're doing now. It's not over, but the daily rate is gone, but we still have that flexibility. You can use the meeting rooms. We have a kind of free area downstairs where you can sit, and it's funny, we had to push all the chairs out a bit further just to get our social spacing right, and there's free coffee there, free Wi-Fi, you can sit in and use that, and that's kind of aimed at where people can mix, and this is about making contacts. It is about finding out who's working up in the hills, who's working next door, who's doing whatever, because it's yourself, it's very hard to find out what people do in your general area. And listen, people used to go to the Yellow Pages, now they go to the web, and now there's no conversation in those areas, but we're looking at create conversations, business connections, recommendations, a bit of social, a bit of fun, and do it all while running a business.
I think it's brilliant. I really do. And I love the allotments. I say, I'm not a gardener, but I can see that appealing to people going, whoa, I can grow, it's part of your working day. So, because obviously when you leave the house to go, maybe have a garden at home, whatever, but you're still working. That is, and then the social aspects are very positive too as well. And you said you even had a wedding in your venue.
That was my sister's wedding.
Okay. You're not advertising weddings, sorry.
And it worked really well. It was, it's a lovely space, and because we have a little terrace outside where the sawmill used to be, and we've made the outside areas interact with the interiors, and it's a very easy space to get around. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and a small gig then as well. Peter Mulvey was over doing a European tour, and Natalie Mayano was a friend of ours in Goromo. She says, he's going to end his tour soon. Do you fancy? Would you fancy having a little gig? I said, I'd love a little gig, because we're both into music, and we said, right, we're limited to 20, and we'll do a pasta hat around roughly as the charge, and it was just magical. Extremely.
I went to a music event once. It was a blues, two guys doing blues music, bluegrass music, and it was in a wooden house in Wicklow, someplace. It was those wooden houses. Anyway, but it was a tenner in. You brought your own wine, and the lads were getting the same money. There was about 20 of us, or maybe even 30 of us. But so they got the same money they would in the pub, but we actually listened to them, because in a pub people tend to talk over them, So it was a lovely evening. It was a different way to do some things. So you'll be having more gigs, do you think, going forward when things relax?
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, there's hopefully Luca Bloom was starting something out in Clare there last year or the year before, where it's a kind of a music trail where musicians, say, traveling between Ennis and Galway, or Cork and Galway, to stop over in parts of Clare, stay overnight, do a gig, and pass the hat around. And we're kind of want to develop something like that, so that we're not a venue. We don't want to become a venue. We just want to do an occasional small gig when somebody, who can handle a small concert comes along. As you say, 20 people, bring your own wine. It helps our business, and it's a nice thing to do, and we're both into music. So yeah, I can see more of it, but that's how we'd like it to develop in a part of the music trail.
I think you guys have cracked it. You are now mixing your passions, your pleasures, and your work all in one place.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that will definitely come from COVID. People I suppose they have the time to sit and think, reflect very much on life and all these sort of big questions, but that I suppose you only have one, and it's a case of how do you want to spend it.
Wow. Well done. Yeah. I think you have cracked it. You really do. I'm thinking, I'd like to be in your job. Thank you very much.
It's terrible.
It's for love. It's for love. Dear. Well, I'm sure business will improve, especially as the lockdown eases up. It's such a necessary thing, and you're dead right, because I feel like I go to Dublin for meetings, but it's not now at the moment, but typically be once a week, whatever. And I tend to miss the traffic, so I go in for like a 10:30 start, and it's fine. It's a 2-hour drive, but I don't mind it, because it's and I rack and stack my meetings. But I feel so sorry for people who have been commuting and haven't had the opportunity to work from home. And this is a really good stopgap. I think it's a super idea. Do a bit of work from home, work in a hub, and maybe go to Dublin once a week or something. And everyone's lifestyle is improved. Productivity goes up.
It affects everyone. It's not just the worker, it's their families, their community, in the sense, if they have now, because they're not stuck in a car for 3 hours a day, can they now, I don't know, get involved in, the local
tidy towns or...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just go back to, you mentioned it earlier, but, we do have, I think that the infrastructure is there for hubs in every town, village in Ireland, because you have something, say, most towns, villages have post offices. So they're trying, they closed so many post offices in the last number of years, but really they should be regenerated. They should be found other.
So the hubs would replace the post offices?
Yeah, that every
hub.
Every post office would have a little section that was effectively a hub.
Yeah, and the other thing about it, the post offices had priority on the communication infrastructure.
Yeah.
They would have all the best lines in the area. Yeah. So they would have all, coming from the local telephone exchange. And so there is scope for something like that in the remote areas.
That makes sense. That makes a lot more sense than the broadband plan. And again, I have fibre in my house, for which I'm profoundly grateful. I live in a little village in very rural Wicklow, and I couldn't do my work unless I had it. But hubs are great. Hubs make a lot of sense, and you can get up and going quickly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's funny, and just back to what Caroline was saying, like, we're in our office here talking to you because the meeting room was booked because there's a lady there who usually does meetings in Dublin, and we bought a nice bit of kit, a camera kit, and a good microphone system, and she's now able to have her meetings upstairs rather than having to go to Dublin. So the effect on even the N11, that horrible journey in the N11 and the M50 into Dublin, in and out every day, reducing that. There was one of the users there. We opened this week, and then last week a guy came up and I was chatting to him, and he was saying, it's funny, I was finding life really hard going into COVID initially because I was well worried about everything then, and I was cranky, and then the second week I realised what was making me cranky was to commute in and out to Dublin every day, and the third week he was enjoying his kids, he was working from home, he was having a great time.
Yeah.
So just better quality of life, being able to, work from home when you need it. I wouldn't recommend it full time because you do have to get out of home as well to have an office interaction. But just the difference not having that commute is massive to people.
Yeah, and I think the COVID has made us rethink. Many companies would not have said they could do it, and guess what? They had to do it. So, yeah, I think your hub is great. Timing is great, and I think it should be replicated. I think it's take a leaf from your book and have Hub13s all over the country.
Post offices.
Post offices, exactly. I agree with that. I agree. It's a brilliant idea.
Historically, post office, I just remember my grandmother, like, the post office was the hub.
Yeah, it was.
Because they used to go and get, say, their pension on such a day or whatever. And, in rural areas, they might have had a few, sold vegetables or some kind of, bread and small grocery type things attached. There's absolutely no reason why those areas can't, do all that and have something that is like a hub that people can come in.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
We'll tell the new government, shall we? Whenever they get formed. So thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed it. I love what you're doing. I think you have married your passion with your work, and hopefully the pay goes up soon. And but thank you very much. Hub13, Caroline Costigan and Huw O'Toole. And I wish you every success going forward. Thank you to Marlena Murphy producing, and to Gavin Dowd and sound. And until next time, be good, be safe, and keep on helping others.
Thanks, Jillian. Bye.
Bye-bye.